This will be another video, sort of an orientation to our flipped classroom lecture notebook and the homework log. Now, notebooks make up 10% of your end-of-term grade, and the homework that you do at home and in lab, our computer lab, where we hold class, using MyLab and Mastering software, is also 10% of your end-of-term grade. And as was mentioned, the quizzes that we take from the flipped classroom notes, the open notes quizzes, are 10% of your grade. So in a sense, what we see here is going to make up 30%. And then we have our testing, 4 tests, that's 40%, and the final 30%, which gives us 100%. But notebooks are important, 10%. Now, on the first day of class, we're going to give you one of these booklets that we've prepared, and it's for our fall 2018. And basically, what we've done here is take the examples from your textbook, and you'll see that as we open it up here. This is our first page, and this is the sequence of the items that we'll be doing. We did mention this before, but there they are, all laid out. We have 4 initial topics and a test, 4 more topics than a test, and then I believe there's 8, and then a test, and then there's 7, and then a test. And these are some days built in to review if we don't have a snow day or something like that, or something happens. Now, what we'll be doing periodically is having you evaluate your notes, and then I'll evaluate your notes. And hopefully we are seeing eye to eye. And again, if you get a low grade somewhere, hopefully it can be pumped up for the next time, and then you'll get your final grade there. And I did show this. This is when you watch the flipped classroom video. These are the notes that I have taken on the topic 1.1. And we'll just go through these quickly here so you can see. So here's the second page now, and notice that these over on the right here are examples right from your textbook. So you don't need to write in your textbook. You could write right in here. And I do suggest you highlight. Don't highlight everything, because then it doesn't mean anything, but particularly, topics and things you want to remember. Now, sometimes we have a lot written on the left, sometimes there's not that much. And then here at the end, there isn't anything on the left side. I have a little bit on the right. We do want you to do these examples because some of this may be included in your open notes quiz. Now, here's, in my classes, I've obtained these little composition booklets that we're calling the homework log. Your cover may be a little bit different than this, but this is what it's like. Now, when you open it, on the inside page, there'll be a rubric. It's actually going to be not the flipped classroom, but in this case, the homework log. This is a rubric from another page, just to show you. And then we'll be initialing and putting a date we check it, and then from 0 to 5 points. And this is what the homework looks like, where you label and highlight the specific examples you're working on, number them, write them out. And I've used ink. In some cases, you may use ink, but in other cases, you may want to change your answer. So pencil is perfectly fine. hopefully you see this is somewhat neat. Now, if you have a question on something, that would be the key. You'd put like a little question mark by it. I guess I went back here. Question mark by what you want to ask. And there I have one right there. Okay. See, we're getting some pop-ups here. So, this is what your homework log should look like. You write out the examples, show the work to get the answers. And this is, of course, 5 points. Now, every once in a while, I give 6 points. What does that mean? Well, students have done a super job. And not always, but there are times, that it's even better than what I have here. This is, I think, good, but some probably have it very good. Now, what does the homework look like? Well, I took a page and I took a screenshot of one of our examples for homework. This one happens to be in section 2.1. And this is what it looks like when you're in the software. And it says determine the ratio and write it in lowest terms. So you would write this statement down, you would put this here, and then you would write the answer. This would be example number 1. Now it does keep track of your score here, and it's out of 20 possible points. There's 20 questions. Now, the thing about homework is you can repeat this as often as is needed until you get it right. So this is not a test. This is practice in which you repeat and hopefully learn to get the correct answers. Now, this menu bar right over here is interesting because suppose you're stuck on it and I'm not around. Well, in fact, even if I am around, this is a good thing. You would click on the question help and a drop-down menu comes. You select what you want to see and it then helps you solve this example. Now, if you still need help after that, now if you're at home, that would be a time. If you're in class, that's what I will be doing as I circulate answering your questions. All right, here's question number 2. Determine the ratio and write in lowest terms. $14 to $96. And you might say, I don't know what they're talking about. Well, that would be in the lesson, the flipped classroom lesson, where I go over the PowerPoint slides giving you examples of these. So you're using your notes to model how you would answer your homework. And then another example, this is example 3. 156 inches to 12 feet. What would this ratio be and write in lowest terms? Now this one, you may realize that here we have inches and feet. In order to make a proper comparison, they have to be in the same. So you would have to multiply the feet by 12 to convert it to inches. And 12 times 12 is 144. So your ratio would be 156 over 144, and you reduce it to lowest terms. Okay. Again, if you're stuck on something, and you get a running score. Now, I can look at these scores, and that's what I look at. I look at the score, and there is your score for homework. And the average of all your homework at the end of the term is 10% of your end of term grade. The open notes quizzes are 10%. Your notebooks are 10%. So this part comprise 30%. And then we have our paper test and the paper final exam. So on the first day of class, we will have an open notes quiz on lesson 1.1. I will send you the link, or if you have access to Canvas already, you have access to it in Panopto Recordings, that menu bar over on the left. Click on that. In Unit 1, you will find Lesson 1.1. So I told you it lasts about 30 minutes. Since you don't have your lecture booklets yet, you can write these on loose leaf. Also, on the first day, you will have access to the software. You'll be at your computer. I will go over this with you, and you're able to get into the software program, My Labs in Mastering. Now, if you already have purchased your textbook, in the back of it, there is a little folder that has an access code, and that's what you will put in. And then you'll have access to the software the full semester. If you do not have your textbook yet, let's see here, this went back here. There is a 14-day trial period that you can use to get access to your homework. Otherwise, you tend to fall behind. Now, there are due dates on the homework, and you can continue to work on it until, you can continue to work on it. The due date, though, generally is the day we have the test. But I will be checking your homework logs, and if you are not up to date, then, of course, you lose points on your homework log. But you can still work on the homework and get the homework grade. You lose points on the notebook for not having them done on time. And again, if you have any questions or concern, there's my email address. And hopefully this is helpful to know what goes on in Math 102. And good luck.